Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hey guys, welcome. Welcome to another exciting episode of Uncommon Mondays. Hey, this is Coach Clavon. Guys, buckle your seatbelts. Okay. We are going to have a great podcast this evening. We're fired up and excited, guys. This is episode 21, Uncommon Mondays, Uncommon Men. Remember, guys, go to our YouTube handle, UncommonMen Global. Don't forget to like the broadcast, to share the broadcast, to subscribe to the broadcast, guys. Again, man, we're so excited. Where would we be without you guys collectively bonding with us all over the country, all over the world, and this uncommon movement to empower men, specifically from a movement from 16 and above. And it's a wave right now, a wave of some sort of brotherhood and some sort of empowerment that is shaking things up and really making an impact on people's lives. And that's what it's all about. And so, this wouldn't be possible without Mr. Dan Putnam, my partner. And I want to bring him up to the stage. And guys, tonight we're going to talk about what we've been talking about. And, Dan, I wanted to kind of start off tonight sharing something with you and getting your opinion. I was looking at Men's Mental Health Month. It's a publication you can find online. And in 2023, they said 77% of men polled said that they experienced some level of symptoms such as anxiety, stress, and depression as it pertains to their mental health. And they went even further. 32% of those symptoms related to financial pressures, and 23% related to health concerns. And if that wasn't enough, I was really interested to see that they said that men are 3 times, Dan, more likely to turn to drugs and alcohol based on mental health issues. And
Wow.
And check this out, final seed. This part was done in the UK, but it still says 75% of all suicides in the UK were attributed to men dealing with mental health issues. Yeah, buddy. I just thought that was based on some of the things you've been sharing with me about the direction of Uncommon.
You know what? Unfortunately, it's a real thing. Those statistics aren't made up. I think so many times as men, we don't really have a whole lot to turn to. You go talk to some of your friends about stuff and they just say, "Hey, Clavon, quit being such a pussy." You know what I mean? Sack it up. It's just part of life. But I saw something a while back, and it was talking about the number one cause of death, males and females under 25, was suicide. And then I saw one more recently that when it just went to males alone, it was the number one cause of death under 45. And they had very similar statistics showing that 70% of suicides are males. Another statistic that was kind of mind-blowing, and again, we're not talking about, suicide and stuff like that. It's not what the podcast is all about. But another thing that was kind of mind-blowing along with that is that there's for every one person that commits suicide, there's around 23 that attempt.
Wow.
So if you look at the numbers, and it's a sad story. Number one cause of death in males under 45 is suicide. 70% of suicides are committed by males. But yet for every one that commits suicide, 23 more have tried it. So the whole concept of Uncommon isn't to go out and prevent suicide, but it is to give people a tool chest to deal with stress, anxiety, whether it's relationship, school, finances, all of the different things like you said. It's really just kind of crazy. I was listening to a couple songs. I forgot the name of one of them. Let me pull it up really quick.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one that was just happened to be playing on the radio, which was a Justin Bieber song called "Lonely," and it was kind of interesting that he was talking about having so much fame so young and having everything, but feeling that there's nobody to call, nobody that would understand. And it is kind of like that. It's kind of interesting, and we've had these discussions on the podcast. But it's kind of one of those things, like people see somebody and they think, "Man, this guy's got it made. He's got beautiful wife or beautiful girlfriend. He's got everything that you could ever imagine." But what if you have all that, Clavon, and you still feel empty? You still aren't happy.
Right.
Nobody's going to feel sorry for Clavon driving in his Bugatti with his supermodel next to him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So who are you going to call and complain to?
Right.
That's going to have anything to say. And so it was kind of interesting that he had that song that called "Lonely," and what a lonely world it is for so many people.
Wow.
And again, it's just some of those things that this is exactly why we're doing what we're doing. But another song that I heard was from Jelly Roll called "Save Me," and if you listen to the lyrics on that, it's kind of eye-opening also, and talking about the drugs and the alcohol, and really not feeling like there's anybody else to turn to. There's nothing else for comfort. That's the only comfort that you're getting is the food, drugs, and alcohol. So, those are the things we put together, these 5 things for a reason with Uncommon and what our goal is. And I truly believe that we can make a massive difference in the lives of all males 16 and up. And some of it's having that support group. Some of it's having kind of a roadmap. And really the whole goal here every single Monday night is to bring on these uncommon men, find out a little bit about their stories. And what I've seen and experienced in my life is one of the most proven success principles is that success leaves clues. And so our entire goal with this podcast is to interview these uncommon men every single Monday, leave as many clues to success as we possibly can. And I've said it almost every week, Clavon, if we did the exact opposite and we interviewed people that were not successful, you're going to see commonality after commonality after commonality and all these people that aren't successful. And it's just kind of like you can do either one. You can interview unsuccessful people and say, do the opposite, or you can interview successful people and say, do what they've done. And this is what our 21st episode.
Absolutely.
So we're going on 5 months every single Monday of these uncommon men, and every single one of them have had way more in common than not in common.
Right.
Have you noticed that same thing?
Yeah.
And I don't care if it's our 21st episode or our 2001st episode. You're just going to be seeing the same things over and over and over. But the reason we're going to continue to do it, hundreds and hundreds or thousands of episodes, is to get that beat in your mind so far that there is an exact recipe for success. And if you follow it, success is going to happen. We can't say the exact amount of success, the exact type of success, but even just understanding some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight. But, one of the things that I've heard and agree with 1,000%, and they talk about every single male or human, the female could be also, but we're talking about males here. Every single male should have a goal to become a millionaire, not just to earn the $1 million, but to understand and to become the type of person that you need to become to be worth the $1 million. And it's the same thing with the health and fitness and the other aspects is to become that type of person that can have the consistency, that can have the perseverance, that can have the drive to show up every single morning and do things, even when you're not seeing the results, even when you don't feel like it. And those are the things that you learn. And that's what, this whole uncommon movement is all about. But let's go ahead and bring on our guest so we don't take up the whole time talking about these things. But that's I've seen a lot of those same statistics, Clavon. So it's interesting that you saw that and brought them up. And I do think that they need to be put to the forefront, but there definitely is, in my opinion, some proven ways to deal with the stress, to deal with the anxiety, to understand it better, to understand that it's temporary, and to not move to permanent choices for temporary situations.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you something, quickly and closing on that intro, I'm just proud because I got some insight on the Uncommon Movement's direction as it comes to products and services and the therapeutic approach we're going to have on the world as it pertains to mental health for men and dealing with anxiety, stress, and depression. So I want the world to pay attention and stay locked in, especially those males from 60 and above, because we're going to be bringing it. We're going to be bringing a very therapeutic touch with some of the things you got in store over the next 3 to 6 months. So, with that being said, tonight's about, it's not about us, man. It's about this gentleman right here, Mr. Matty B. And Matty, welcome. I'll tell you something. This platform is, success leaves clues, man. It's to show that there's so many uncommon men in our communities making a difference. So, I want to welcome you to the platform, and I know you and Dan have a rich history, and we're going to jump right out there. And if you wouldn't mind letting us know, man, who is Matty B? Give us some insight on your background. Come on, man. How you came up, your family, siblings, and what was some of the sparks in your adolescence that kind of got you on the road to whether it's entrepreneurship or the success that you're having now? Just take us back a little bit.
Man, first of all, Coach, listen, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Danny boy, my man's pots and pans, cuz. It's good to have your face on the screen too. It's funny how life goes full circle, and some of the things that you guys have been talking about. It's insane to kind of digest it and process it, especially when you live it. I'm born in the Bay Area. I'm a Cali boy.
Okay.
Niner gang boy. Gang. I've got to stand by my Niners. Come on now. But no, I grew up in a very different situation than most people do in Utah. And I was back and forth from Cali to Utah a handful of times. My biological father was out there. My mom moved out here with her side of the family. And I grew up, I think like most kids that don't have a dad in the home, that don't really have an example of what life looks like, and watching my mom work 3 jobs to take care of 5 kids. It was something that made us grow up quick because we had to help take care of a lot of things. I'm the second oldest. So my older brother, my late older brother, phenomenal example, phenomenal leader. And that's who I had to look at. But I'm uncommon. If you want to talk about what that looks like. I didn't grow up with success. I didn't grow up from money. I didn't grow up from knowing what, in my mind, all I knew success was being rich. I had a very different perspective on what success looked like, because I didn't want to have to do what my mom did raising my kids. I didn't want to be stuck out of the house all day long and my kids are feeding their siblings and I get home after dinner's done. And that's what I grew up in. And unfortunately made other choices and ran down the direction that these men in my life put me down. And they were men that I looked up to, and they were men that taught me what success was. But it was all driven by money. It wasn't success. It wasn't happiness. It wasn't peace. And I think that's the key word for me in my life and in my story. So I started doing a lot of soul searching. Started working when I was 14. Phenomenal opportunity for me to learn what growing up actually was. I hated it. I didn't want anything to do with it. But everything from just being I was collecting carts at a grocery store. That was the only job I could get when I was 14. So I'm freezing out here in Utah, whether there's snow on the ground or not. I'm pushing carts to make sure that I can make $7 an hour. And I thought I was making something at that point. Right. And it was either that or I go and do something that was going to take my life away from not just me, but my family, my mom, and my brothers and sisters. And I learned at a really early age that the way that I saw a situation was the outcome, the way that I saw the outcome of that. And I started hustling at that point in a very different way. So we started bringing some of the younger kids under our wing. We started doing a lot of football work with them. Ended up playing football, wrestling, soccer, baseball, everything under the sun. We played outside when we were younger. This generation is a little bit different today, so I think they got it different. But we didn't have a choice. We played in the streets. It was if you didn't have a football or a basketball in your hand, you weren't doing nothing. Everybody else was in the street doing that. So we took a lot of little kids in and started training them, and it was something that I just started to fall in love with. Was bringing youth up with me, and teaching them that they didn't have to go down the same road that I went down at a really early age, even though I was bringing some bread in that I thought was success. And so I realized that in that moment, the only success was when I walked in that door at night, my mama giving me a big hug and a kiss and telling me how much she loved and missed me that day. And it kind of changed the trajectory of where I wanted to go. And had a phenomenal run with football, with college, with rugby. I went up to the University of Utah. I got a scholarship in high school. I played at Granite High School of all schools, a little 3A school in the middle of Salt Lake City. It was 3A, smallest school of all the 5A schools around me. But ended up going down to play football at Dixie when it was a junior college down in St. George. Got a scholarship offer from Coach McBride up at the U. And he was like, "You're too little. You got to go put some size on, get some weight, get some experience at this level." And so did that, went down to Dixie, ended up joining the church. I found Jesus. And, I did a lot of soul searching. I didn't know what I was doing, where I was going. Didn't tell my mom. Everything was just kind of how it had always been. I just did what I needed to do to take care of me so I could take care of everybody else. And, went and served a LDS mission for 2 years, and then came home, blew my knee out first thing when I got home, lost my football scholarship. Urban Meyer was there that year. This was 2004, long time. I'm old. Dreams were shattered. I lost all hope and all faith yet again at that point. And, took that year of school off, went through surgery. He told me I couldn't use my gray shirt. Basically took my scholarship, took my money, and it was it. And the way that things work, when you keep a positive attitude and a positive mindset and you continue to work at what you got to work on, I came back faster, running low 4.4s, and the rugby team at the University of Utah picked me up. And that led to me being able to travel the world, playing with USA a couple of times, and we had a real fun run. And in fact, Dan was a big part of my rugby push way back when. This is 2008, 2009, and rugby wasn't a big sport in the States, and so we had to fund everything that we were doing. And Dan kind of grabbed me by the bullhorns and said, "Dude, wake up. You don't understand what you have the potential to do. You can go create what you want to create. You can produce what you want to produce. You can make what you need to make. You don't have to go and keep dying while you're going to school and trying to work all these other jobs. This is something that you have the ability to do. Let's do this." And, once I was steered in the right direction, and you have a mentor that can show you how to get from point A to point B, it's something that I've kind of grasped from jump. And I said, this is a mentor that I need to have. So those ABCs is kind of what I mentored everything off of in my brain. So A is where I'm at, B is where I want to be, and there's a course I got to follow to get from point A to point B. So ABCs is simple. Dan was my mentor, and that was the course I had to follow. I wanted to have what he had. The little seeds that are planted, right? The success leaves clues. I saw all the clues, and I wanted to follow those things. And so back in 08, 09, I really grabbed a hold of his coattails, and I just gleaned as much as I could. And it led to me starting a speed and agility company at the same time I was playing rugby at the University of Utah. And for USA, we're paid a per diem. We got $150 a day traveling and representing our country. So it wasn't money that we was making. It was we had to pay for a lot of the things we was doing. And when you put the big picture together, that was still my piece, because I was doing something I loved. When I was home, I was able to train kids in between tours. I'm gone for 3 weeks, home for 6, gone for 3 weeks, home for 6. And that's a 5.5 month window. And so it was hard. But when I learned how to leverage my time, that changed everything. Because even when I was gone, it still allowed me to be able to create a substantial income for my family to be able to have when I was out doing what at the time was what I wanted to do. And you know, things kind of go full circle. Like I said, I come home and we hit the ground running, and everything at that point was clear because I had someone telling me not what I wanted to hear, but what I needed to hear. And I don't think there's enough of us out there that do that because we're afraid of offending people. We're afraid of hurting people's feelings. And Dan was never that person with me. And as much as I love him, the love is because it came from truth. It was not something that came from coddling. It wasn't something from a participation trophy. It was, you're getting exactly what you're putting in. How much more do you want? We pick and choose where we put our energy. And that's what one of the biggest lessons I had to learn coming up was, wherever I put my energy, I was going to get what I was trying to get. And I think for the man that I am today and the way that I try to move, man, I'm probably just like y'all harder on myself than I should be. I put a face on for a lot of people, even though I try to tell myself not to, because when I put a face on, I'm not doing anything but a disservice to everybody else I'm talking to. So trying to take a step back and recognize who is Matt and what does Matt have to offer. That's what I have to ask myself on a daily basis. What are the things I'm doing that are giving back to the ones that I'm serving? And that's in a nutshell who I am.
Couple things there, Matt, that how did you kind of get over, like, going from Dixie, going on a mission, coming back, going to play? Did you tear your knee up in practice, actually playing, or how did you hurt your knee? And then what was that like, just that rebuilding process of having all the dreams and excitement in the world, and then basically having it pretty much end, that it's like, okay, life's not going to work out how I had hoped. Now what am I going to
do? Boy, let me tell you how mad I was at God for a hot minute. I was doing his work for 2 years. In my mind, like, I turned down a scholarship. I had offers when I was at Dixie, not just to the U. I had Texas A&M, Texas Tech, and Bronco Mendenhall was at BYU at the time, and I was getting handwritten letters from Coach Mendenhall. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go do God's work. I'm gonna go do the Lord's work. I'm gonna go put all of me on the shelf. I'm gonna go teach the gospel of the Savior. I'm gonna go do what I can. When I get home and I have that dream ripped out from underneath me, I can count on one hand the amount of times I've questioned Heavenly Father in my life. And that is 3 of the 5 fingers are experiences from those moments. The dumbest thing on the planet, number one, when you're issued a scholarship or you're offered a scholarship, there's a handful of things you can and can't do. Skiing, you can't ski, you can't go and do a lot of the other extracurricular activities that will put you in a position to get hurt. I was playing basketball. Of all things, I'm not a basketball player. I wrestled growing up. I didn't play no damn basketball. I put myself in a situation to blow my knee out, trying to dunk on this 6'6" kid that thought he could do everything in the world. So I had an ego. My pride is what put me in the situation. And, you know, it took everything from it. But it took me a year to recognize that there was a lesson that I had to learn. And that football wasn't the end all be all. Football teaches me lessons that help me become a better man in this life. And that's what I was missing from jump. I was looking at everything from a financial perspective because I thought I was the best thing since sliced bread where I was coming from. But everybody else at that level is just as good as what I was. And I had to humble myself. What I had to do was start opening books and start reading again. What I had to do was stop turning my cheek to the things that didn't matter and turn it to the things that did matter. And once I humbled myself a good bit, and it took probably a year for me to get over it. It took till after I was in therapy, and before I was 100% was probably about 9 months. And, you know, when rugby didn't open up, and I didn't get offered anything for that until I put myself in a better headspace. I don't think I would have even seen the blessing come had I stayed in that same headspace. And the headspace was all pride and ego from me. I could have thrown everything away and never had an opportunity to do anything again if I would have stayed angry. And I think that's what it kind of boiled down to, was I couldn't stay angry. So that's how I got over it, was processing my own emotions, learning that was something that I couldn't do on my own. I had to go and get help. And I had to do counseling in order to figure out how to get through that. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people had shamed, but my mama was on my head the whole time. She saw me downward spiral the moment I lost my scholarship. My mama told me I had to go start talking to somebody. I ignored that for over a year before I finally went in and started working with somebody. And that changed everything for me. And so.
What did you learn there, Matt? Like talking to the counselor, did you just learn that, you know, it's not all about football, or what do you feel was like the thing that changed that? How did that help?
I think that what it opened up the most for me, it's still to this day, is that they just hold a mirror up. And so I can sit and complain about everything. But the moment the mirror's held up and the things I'm complaining about, I see in myself, it changes the way that you look at yourself, because I didn't like the one I was looking at. I didn't like the man that I was seeing. And I learned in those moments that mirror was telling me exactly who I was, not what I didn't like. And it was showing me that I didn't like who I was being. And it took somebody else to pull that up. And the moment that mirror was held in front of my face, and everything that I was saying, complaining about, I saw every one of those things in me. I had to change.
Yeah, that's interesting. In David Goggins' last book, he talked a little bit about that he would take a recorder, and whenever he felt bad and stuff like that, he'd just record all of his thoughts, and then he'd listen to it later and be like, "Is this who I am? Is this the type of person I'm becoming?" And just like when he has down days and doesn't feel like doing anything and doesn't feel good, he'd record all those thoughts and then listen to it later. And, you know, it's just kind of interesting that so many times it's so easy to get so far off path. And one song that I love is Thrive by Switchfoot. And one of the lyrics in that song says, "There's a stranger in the mirror that's wearing my clothes." And I think so often, as you know, men and also as humans, we end up in that situation. And I always think about it, you know, when somebody really looks in the mirror and just really looks, what do they think? Because I've been in that situation that's like, who in the world is this guy? Is this me? Is this what I'm capable of? This is my big show, and this is what I'm going to do.
I'm telling you, one of the things y'all was talking about in the beginning about how not to take it back to a dark place about the suicide, but one of the statistics was how such a huge percentage of them came from something that led them to drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
The actions, I didn't even drink until I was, I think, 27. Well, first time I ever had a drink. Not something that I did all the time. My brother passed away. My brother passed away in June of 13. And when he passed, I didn't see myself in the downward spiral I was in, but alcohol is what led me to a downward spiral, which starts to change the way that the thought process a man has when you're tested. The last thing that we need is to run to something that turns it darker, that numbs us. We don't have the ability to function or see what's in the mirror when that's what we're running to. We can go get lit and go stand in front of the mirror, and it's not going to be something that I see from the perspective that I need to have right now. I see the perspective of somebody that doesn't have the ability to see anything. The more numb I make myself, the less ability I have to see myself in the situation. But that's what this whole cover-up situation is, men, that we do. What's uncommon? Uncommon is facing it and running through it. Yeah. What's uncommon is me picking my phone up and saying, Dan, bro, I'm struggling right now. My G, come to my house. Give me 20 minutes. Pull my head out. Slap me in my face. Tell me something. Because I don't get what's happening right now. I don't call men and ask for help like that. When's the last time you picked up your phone and called somebody and said, hey, tell me I'm doing something right? Give me some affirmation.
Yeah.
We don't do that. And so we stay stuck in this little hole that we put ourselves in.
And it becomes comfortable in that
and that
hole.
Comfort is what leads to our frustration and depression.
Right. Because typically you get in that hole with some other people, and their comfort is also knowing that, hey, Matt's in here with us. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then Matt tries to leave that hole, and they don't want that to happen. So, sometimes you have to change your entire environment in order to get out of those dark places. And it's kind of crazy. And jumping into really what Uncommon's about, we focus on 5 key areas of life. 2 of them are kind of have to do with what I think are our most valuable assets as human beings. Not talking about spirituality, not talking about family, just talking about straight up as an individual. And the next 3 things, 2 of which are what we've put together to help achieve those first 2. And then the 5th one that we're going to discuss is what I feel actually brings that happiness and that peace. So we never end up in that situation that I was talking about, like Justin Bieber's song "Lonely." You have everything you ever dreamt of having, but it doesn't bring that fulfillment that you thought it would. Now what do I do? And that's the 5th aspect that we talk about. And so we'll kind of go through these in order, and really just want your thoughts on them. If any of these are things that are important to you, or that you focus on, or do anything. And the first one is health and fitness. Again, I know your background, so I know that that's been a big part of your life, but it's not a big part of everybody's life. But what do you feel like, just as success and as an uncommon male, what do you think health and fitness, what do you think about that? I mean, a lot of people have heard that our first wealth is our health. one of the things I've noticed, Matt, that this is something that we're in complete control of, and we don't really want to admit that, but what we put in our mouth and how we move our body, that those are just the decisions we make every single morning, every single day, and whatever we do consistently is the results that we get. It's kind of like reaping that harvest, what we're planning every day, and then what we're seeing in the mirror is what we're reaping from what we're doing every day. So with you, what do you think, health and fitness, how does that fit in with success? How does that just fit in with being a man? And what are your feelings on that?
I think that there's so much that comes from the health and fitness aspect, right? Because in order for me to make that a priority and to prioritize that, there's a lot of lessons that I learned as a result of that. At the end of the day, consistency is key. If I'm not consistent, I'm going to be the same dude that's complaining that I'm not getting the results that I wish that I had. I'm going to be upset and hate the world because why haven't I lost this 6% body fat I've been trying to lose for 3 years? Well, because you go for 2 weeks and then you don't go for 4. And then you go for 3 weeks and then you miss 3. So consistency is one of the things that in order for health and fitness to take a grab of a human being, it takes consistency to develop and generate the results that a human needs. When I'm in the gym, the endorphins that are released changes everything. The rest of my day is better. How many times do you wake up and you don't want to go to the gym? Every human on this earth experiences that more than 50% of the time that they go to the gym. Well, I don't have time. I need to do this instead. You know what? Let me go knock out just 40 minutes, even if that's all I got. The more physically fit I am, the more able I am. I want to be able to go hike the mountain. I want to be able to go hunt with my kids. I want to be able to go do the hard things when I'm 60, 65, 70. I don't want to be laid up and unable, and my kids are out working me, and I have to sit in the trailer back at camp because I can't go work and do the things that they're doing. I work on myself just as hard as I make them work on them. And I do that because I have to set an example. And I think from a different perspective, the way my brain works, like physiological adaptation, the way that the body responds to the movements we're doing. If I'm not doing my health and fitness aspect, the other part don't work. If I'm not working on keeping myself moving, nothing else is moving. The moment I slack and say, okay, I'll do it tomorrow, I start making those same excuses in every other aspect of my life. So it starts first with me holding myself accountable with my health and fitness, because if I make that a priority, I'm an example to everybody else on top of what I do for myself.
With that, Matt, do you have any type of like morning routine, evening routine, daily routine, or how do you, mark that as a part of your life? You just, obviously everybody has the exact number of seconds every single day, but yet people say, oh, I don't have time. It's like, well, actually, we all have the exact amount of time every
100%,
day.
100%. There's 3 days a week that I make sure I do weight training. I do strength training 3 days a week. Is it the same day every week? Nope. Am I trying to stay looking like a gladiator? Yes. Am I going to get that working out only 3 days a week? No, but if I hold myself accountable to that on those other days, I know I'm going to get out and make sure I'm running. So my boys and I, we have a trail that we run that's through neighborhoods just around here. It's 3.2 miles. Sometimes it takes me 40 minutes. Sometimes we can knock it out in 26. I don't care how long it takes me as long as I get it done. There's times that I'll walk half of it because I'm just frustrated with myself, but I got out the door. And so that's how I hold myself accountable. I wake up and stretch every single morning. It's the first thing I do. I'll spend 15 or 20 minutes stretching first thing every single morning. Long muscles are strong muscles. So the more length I can create, the stronger my muscles are going to be, the better my recovery is going to be, and the healthier I'm going to stay. What 41-year-old man still is able to do the splits? Me. Well, it's because I have to take care of myself. Everything hurts, Bro, I go to the gym. It takes me 3 days not to be sore. I'm still just as sore as when I was just as fit playing rugby for USA.
Yeah.
None of that's changed. But if I wake up and stretch every single morning, my body moves a completely different direction. And now going and running or going and working out has a completely different result. So first thing in the morning, I stretch and I knock out my workout sometime before 12, 1 o'clock, and then I'm good for the rest of the day.
Awesome. So health and fitness obviously is a big thing that we're making a push on. And our kind of vision is to move everybody into the top 1%. And what's interesting, you would think that would be pretty good. You think, okay, health and fitness wise, being able to move a certain amount of weight compared to my weight, being able to be a certain percentage of body fat, because what we're talking about isn't necessarily just height and weight. We're just focused mostly on, muscle mass compared to fat. And a lot of times I wouldn't say that a lot of people are necessarily overweight, but they could be over fat, meaning having too much fat in their system. That can start to cause some issues with carrying too many toxins and just all kinds of things that can come from that aren't beneficial. And so, believe it or not, Matt, I'm sure you believe it because you work in the fitness space, but in the United States and even around the world, it is far less common to have a six-pack than to have $1 million in the bank. Meaning there's a lot more people with $1 million in the bank than have a six-pack. And I'm not saying that you have to have a six-pack. That's not the top 1%. That's more like the top 100th of 1%, or even less than that. It might even be the top 1,000th of 1% to have a six-pack. So just getting to the average point, which is still putting people in that top 1%, is somewhere around that 18% body fat. You're getting into more like the 100th of 1% if you're getting down in that single digit or 10% body fat. So we're not trying to create fitness models or anything like that. But what you said is exactly what the vision is so that the grandparents can play with their grandkids. So that, when somebody's 40 or 50 years old, they can still get out and move. It's like you see a lot of people now in their 50s and 60s. It just seems like it's different. That really isn't that old. You see some of these actors and stuff that are like in their 70s still doing their own stunts and look like they're in their 50s. So I really do think that it's important. Money can't buy it. You have to earn it. You have to work for it. So you could have unlimited billions of dollars and not take care of your health and fitness and still have a fairly miserable life. And you 100%. Can't just pay to have it go away. So many billionaires have died 20, 30 years premature just by not worrying about that health and fitness. And so it's something that we really want to focus on. The second one is financial literacy, but more importantly, what we really focus on is residual income. There's a lot of different ways that people can make money, but they all depend on your time. Residual income is all dependent on leverage. And so we focus on that so that you actually can have complete control of your time. So kind of the vision is through opportunity to show people how they can make a full-time income in their spare time. And then they can really focus their full time on their passions, whatever it is that gets them excited to wake up in the morning, so that they're never worried about, oh man, it's Monday, I got to go back to work or something like that. Just that you're excited to do whatever it is that you're doing because that's what you were put on this planet to do. And in order to do that, you have to have income coming in that doesn't depend on your time. There's a lot of different ways to earn residual income, but they all have to do with leverage. My freshman year of college, I took a course called Intro to Investments. It was actually the very first course, my very first day. So my first college class was Intro to Investments. And on the first day, they handed out a sheet that said how to retire a millionaire. And what it had, Matt, was basically a graph, and it had your age, and then it had how much you would need to invest assuming that you could get 10% annual return from that time until you hit 65. So what you're leveraging there is time and money. So at 18 years old, you'd have to invest around $75 a month for 47 straight years, get a 10% return in order to retire at 65 with over $1 million. And when I saw that, I had never seen anything like that before, but it caught my interest. And I looked around the class literally, and I thought, you know what? We just all learned how to retire a millionaire. I wonder how many people in this class are going to do it. And so literally as soon as I got home, I went and called my dad and asked, you know, what do I need to do here? He recommended that I just call like a Franklin planner. I did that. And 2 days later, the guy shows up at my dorm room talking to me about stocks and mutual funds and things like that. I bought 3 different mutual funds, $25 in each one of the 3. I still have those same exact 3 mutual funds that I still put $25 a month in each one of those 3. So I've been doing that now. I just turned 50. So 32 straight years, I've been putting $75 aside in these mutual funds. And they are right now averaging more than that 10%. But that's a lot of work and a lot of time, not a lot of work, but a lot of time in order to, accumulate $1 million. But that is that type of residual income that you get your money working. And then we've learned like real estate, rentals, all of those types of things that bring in money every single month, building distribution networks, investing. Those are the types of residual income. So, Matt, I know some of the things that you've done have to do with residual income. Just what are your thoughts on residual income compared to linear income, which is just trading your time for money?
I think that, back to what I had said at the beginning, I wouldn't have been able to play rugby for USA if I didn't create a residual income.
Yeah.
If there wasn't a way for me to have an income that still showed up in the mailbox or in the account while I'm gone out of town or out of the country, then the wife and kids aren't eating. And so the residual income allowed me to still have the opportunity to chase a dream. And had I not had a residual income and had to stick with trading time for money just on a linear platform, I would never have been able to accomplish some of the things that I've done in my life. My kids at 13 and 14 have started to learn this concept. And it's funny, my 11-year-old, he just, for example, he just hired 3 of his friends from his school to go out and mow lawns, and he's going to pay his friends $7 a lawn. Well, this dude's out here charging $21 to $31 to do a yard, but these kids are excited to make $7, and my son's not out doing it. For him, he's learning this concept of how to leverage other people's time to create this income. So he's not putting the time in, but income is still coming. So he's putting himself in a situation where his brain, watching these kids grow, has been fun. But had they not had an opportunity to understand how to leverage the dollar to work for you or to leverage time to work for you without it being 47 years, I wouldn't be able to live the life that I've been able to live and give the time to my kids that I've been able to give. Not one of my children have been in from my 11-year-old down, not one of those last 3 have been in daycare. I've been able to raise them and take care of them and be a dad for them. That's why I love residual income. Why
do you think that it's not more common, or that they don't really talk much about residual income in schools and things like that? I never learned once. I got my college degree and stuff like that. Both of my kids have their college degrees. I don't know anybody who's been learning in school anything about leverage or anything about residual income. It's always about getting this education so you can go get hired to go work for somebody else and earn an hourly wage, a salary, or something like that. Why do you think more people aren't learning about residual income, or the schools aren't teaching about it? Any thoughts there?
Truth be told, in my opinion, the reason that we're not being taught it is because we're being taught by people that don't understand it.
Yeah.
That's why they're doing what they're doing. It's not something that many people have experienced, and so it's not something that they feel needs to. We're okay teaching. I'm not even going to run down. We're okay teaching some of the things that are being taught in school right now, but we're not teaching these kids or setting them up to be successful.
Yeah.
We're all the sum of our past experiences, right? So even our educational system, where's education being derived from? Who's creating the agenda? Who's creating the curriculum? Who's creating what we're supposed to be taught? People that have always done the same things, and they're going to continue to get the same results. We're not being taught by men like you. We're not being taught by men like Coach. We're not being taught by people that understand what that power looks like. So that's why it's one of the main things that I teach. When I train my kids, I'm not just talking about my kids. When I say my kids, I'm talking about the hundreds of kids that I train or thousands that I have trained. They have 1 hour with me. And that 1 hour, what are they doing to create something that's going to pay for them to be able to make it further in life? If you want to go to college, great. Let me teach you how to earn a scholarship. If you put the time in right now and work on this right now, we're going to leverage all the time that you're spending right now because it's going to pay for school later. And what you accomplish then in school is going to help you understand that you leveraged 5 years or 6 years of your mom and dad's time and money to create a platform for you to grow on. So how are you going to leverage this time to create and generate some income and money? And so even all the way down to the smallest aspect of what leverage looks like, we're not being taught leverage in school because no one in the education system has utilized it themselves. Many, I don't want to say no one, many of them have not or had experience with it.
And one of the biggest things that we're trying to do here with Uncommon is just to do just that, educate people on different things that they can do to bring income that's not solely dependent on your time, creating that leverage, doing those things. There's so many ways to do it. I don't care which way they choose. We just want to open people's minds up to all the different opportunities out there that can provide that type of lifestyle. And the next two parts are really what get these two things, Matt. So we're talking about health and fitness, and we're talking about residual income and creating leverage. How we do that is first off through personal development. So on personal development, what are your feelings on that? Is there any mentors you've had, any books you've read, any people you follow, their social media that you kind of look up to and have learned from? If you were going to recommend any books or to follow anybody on social media or anything like that, what would you tell the viewers and the people that are listening to this podcast either now or 5 or 10 years from now?
There are so many things that personal development has given me. Quick story: one of the tours, it was actually the Olympic qualifying tournament for the first time rugby was back in the Olympics. The Olympic qualifiers were out in the Bahamas. While we were in Florida, we had a guest speaker. We've all seen the movie Pursuit of Happiness. If you haven't, phenomenal movie. Go watch it. Will Smith plays Brother Gardner, and came and talked to us, spoke to us, and he said that the movie depicted his life perfectly, and that it is exactly what he went through.
Wow! And
Will's emotions were his emotions. He said he cried the first 5 times he watched the movie because it reminded him of where he came from. And he said, one thing that I'll never forget, and it's one of the most powerful lessons I think that I've been taught. We all went to elementary. We all went to junior high. We all went to high school. The principal is the big boss, right? The principal is who runs the show. How many people, when they go to school, they're terrified of the principal and terrified to go to the principal's office? If you get called to the principal's office, we done did something.
Yeah.
How many people also have the handful of teachers that have some big pull? And then there's some teachers that you can get away with teasing a little bit more. And then there's a custodian or the janitor that everyone also gets away with teasing and making life hard for. He taught his boy growing up, I don't care where you end up on that platform. You're going to get an education and you're going to look at everybody the same.
Mm.
And here's why. When the principal's keys are locked in his office, who does he call? The janitor.
Yeah.
When a teacher has a problem in their classroom and they can't figure out how to fix it, who do they call? The janitor. When the lunchroom has a fire breakout or something breaks or something goes down, who do they call? The janitor. And then people that come in and fix a problem. The least of them is the janitor. And the biggest of them relies on him to find success. If we don't change the way that we see who a man is, we will never respect the power and authority that that man has. That janitor had all the keys and power and authority of that entire school in every moment that there was a problem. And he was looked at as the least. Personal development changed the way that I look at situations in life because I never thought about life like that. I'm holding a cup of coffee. This is something Neil Maxwell, and I've had a handful of opportunities to talk to Stephen R. Covey. Phenomenal. What are they called? They write illustrators. They're
authors,
writers, authors. They are storytellers. They create moments that change the way that you have the ability to process. And a perfect example, I'm walking in the hall next to you, Dan, and I'm holding this cup of coffee, and you bump into me, and I spill the coffee, and I turn around, and I'm upset, and I ask you, why'd you make me spill my coffee? What is going on? Well, at the end of the day, I didn't spill the coffee. I spilled what was in the cup. What if I had peace? What if I had grace? What if I had gratitude? What's my cup filled with?
Yeah.
When someone bumps into me, now I have the ability to turn around and say, "Hey, bro, you okay? You good? You need help? Can I help you? Are you all right?" Instead of being upset. There's just little things that we don't understand, but personal development gives us the personal growth. And back to the ABC, where I am, where I want to be, there's a course to follow to get there. It bridges the gap.
Yeah.
This personal development creates the personal growth, but I have to have a mentor or somebody to follow. So Neil Maxwell, Stephen Covey, Christopher Gardner, there's a plethora. I love reading, and there's little things that I do for myself. I have on my notes, I journal every single day. At the end of the day, I don't care if it's a paragraph, 2 sentences, or 3 sentences, or 19 paragraphs. Whatever I need to get off my chest, I put in my notes, in my phone. For example, this is May 4th, evening thoughts and meditation. Be who you say you are. So this was just first one that pops up. So this is made last year. I add on to it. That's what the problem is with this one. Be who you say you are. Be authentic means saying what needs to be said, not what you think they want to hear. Be who you truly are, not who you think they want you to be, because you didn't realize you are everything and you were being who they wanted you to be, and they saw nothing. Little things that I process, that I have to tell myself over and over, that I learned from that day. These are the little things that I want my kids to be able to turn back on, because if I can give them a piece of me that has changed who I am, this is what personal development has created in me.
I love that. One of the things we did an event a while back, and it was called "It's All About You." And I think a lot of times people don't really think about that. They think that it's all about somebody else. There's something that's been going around, and it's just those talking about video games, and you have the main players, and you have all the non-role players, the whatever I don't remember the exact wording for them, but it's just the people that aren't really part of the game. They're just there in the behind the scenes, kind of just extras, kind of like the movies, and have all the extras. Nobody knows who all the extras are. They just have to have some extras, so it looks like there's people, but they're not really the stars. And it's just interesting as so many people just go through the whole life, and they're just kind of an extra. It's nothing about them. What they're getting all their excitement and all their satisfaction watching other people, watching other people on TikTok, watching other people on YouTube, watching shows, and other people do everything, and they're just like,
you ain't never lied, boy.
yeah, it's crazy how so many people are that way. And one thing that's really interesting, I liked what you said, making those notes so that your kids will know who their dad was. And it's one of the things a lot of people talk about social media as, some of the negative parts of it, and just the, people use it as a distraction and all of those. But some of those things can also be, major positives. If you're doing videos all the time and seeing stuff, and then just think your kids, your grandkids get to see you. I mean, I wish that stuff was all around with when my parents were in high school and college.
Can you imagine?
I could go back and watch, all these videos that my dad put out or my mom put out. It's kind of interesting, but I do think that everybody has to realize my biggest goal is just for people to actually realize who they are and what they're capable of. And I think that so often people just kind of just get by with never thinking about it. But when you think about that and you ask somebody, who are you? Because we're all pretty much the same. You know what I mean? As human beings, we don't make the same choices. We don't do the same things consistently every day. But we do have that opportunity to be whatever we're capable of, which is basically unlimited. And so personal development is a big thing. The other one that we focus on, which again is to help with this health and fitness and this, financial literacy and residual income, and that's accountability. What are your thoughts on accountability? Obviously, being a father, being a coach, being a teammate, all of these different types of things. Every one of those has some accountability built into it. But what are your thoughts on the importance of accountability, the role that plays, and helping people go from point A to point B? I guess kind of I like that, the ABCs, go from point A to point B, and C is the course that you get there. But what I kind of view as accountability is what keeps you on the course and a little bit more focused. But what are your thoughts on that? Obviously, growing up and playing sports, having teammates, having coaches, having your mom, all of these people that you're kind of accountable to. Then you become an adult, and now all of a sudden we all think that, oh, now I can make my own choices. But there's always going to be that accountability if you want to have the best chance of success. So what are your thoughts on accountability or things that you've done that have helped you stay on track or get other people on track?
I think that when you don't have no skin in the game, there is no accountability.
Yeah.
And so what is putting skin in the game? And if I'm going to put skin in the game, it can be anything, right? It doesn't have to be. It has to be something that hurts. It has to be something that the consequence of not doing it hurts me. And for me, that's what accountability is. I just got done, for example, just earlier today, myself. I've done less than what I should have done for somebody who's asked me to do something, and I felt guilty because I'm being given something without doing what I've been asked to give, which changes the way that I move. It changes the way I function. When I hold myself accountable, it's not just because someone else is relying on me. It's because I put my name on the line. It's because I've said I'm going to do something. It's because I want to be a man of integrity. Accountability speaks to my character. Accountability creates my character. So if I'm not accountable, I look at accountability as my character. And that's how I've taught my kids. If one wants to do it and the other doesn't, the one who wants to do it is responsible for the one that doesn't want to do it. If I call and say, hey, Coach Claiborne, hey, we going out on Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday, meet me at the track at this time. What happens when I'm the one that says that to him and he shows up and I don't? That hurts me because that's my character. So the next time I tell him to do that, what's he going to say? Hey, nigga, you are not going to tell me to go somewhere you didn't even show up the last 2 times. Right? So accountability for me is character. I tie the two together. And that helps me understand what accountable means. I have to have someone be able to count on my ability. And if I can't have someone count on my ability, then I'm not accountable for nothing. If I can't count on my own ability, I'm not accountable to nothing. So accountability is something that for me and my children, my immediate children, I have my 18-year-old, my 16-year-old. I have a kid that is graduating right now, who's the biggest space cadet on the planet. And my 14-year-old who's working 2 jobs and holding damn near a 4.0, right? 2 completely different individuals. But the accountability is the same. He knows he has to accomplish A, B, C, and D. And if he doesn't, there is no E, F, and G. So don't ask me for nothing until I say C, A, B, C, and D. And that's how accountability for me works. I can't do it myself. I have to have someone that's putting my feet on the fire.
That's interesting. It's kind of funny how the example that you used. I saw a podcast, and I actually can't remember who it was, a professional basketball player, and they're talking about practicing and working with Kobe Bryant. And he reached out to Kobe one time and basically just said, hey, is there any way that I could, practice with you, just kind of see what you do, your routines, diet, exercise, everything. And he gave him a time and a place to meet him. And so he showed up about 5-10 minutes early, and Kobe's not there. And he waits like 30 minutes, not there. 40 minutes, not there. He's like, man, what in the world's going on? So he texts him, hey, I'm just checking to see if I'm at the right place. And he's like, are you there right now? He said, yeah. I said, okay, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Kobe shows up, doesn't say anything. Doesn't say, hey, sorry, I'm 45 minutes late. Sorry, I didn't show up. Nothing like that. He just goes through, has them go through the routine, the workout for about 3 hours. And then he goes the next day and says, let's work out again tomorrow, 5 a.m. I'll text you the place. And then he said, then he goes there, shows up 5 a.m. Kobe's there, everything's ready. And it was just like crazy. But he thinks that he was just, there's so many people that say they want to do something, but then they don't show up, they don't do something. And so he said that he thinks it was Kobe just kind of testing him to see how serious he was. Did he really want to do something? Was he really serious about improving? And then he talked about after he worked out with him 4 or 5 times, he asked him just for his summer routine. And so he said, this is what he did. And after doing it just for a couple days, he started to be like, man, I don't think this is really his routine. I don't think there's any way that somebody's going to do that. And everything that he did had to do with makes. So, and he was saying that he was probably making 85 or 90% of his shots. I mean, and it was still taking him like 5-6 hours to get through the workouts. And he's like, man, if I wasn't making all the shots, I'd be there like 10-12 hours. It's just like unreal what he had to do. But it just made me think that part of accountability is it goes on both sides. Are you going to show up, and are they going to show up? And I think that's what kind of helps. And anybody who's played on teams knows that there has to be some sort of an accountability, or there's no way that you're going to win. You have to be able to count on somebody else. So if you've been on a team, Matt, that you pretty much knew somebody else was going to screw up, so you almost had to play like three positions. And then you start trying to play like three positions, and then you're out of the spot you should be. So the coach gets on you and says, "Hey, Matt, what happened?" And you're like, "Well, geez, Clavon wasn't doing his thing, Dan wasn't doing his thing, and so I was trying to cover all three, and then I wasn't doing mine." But there's teams that ends up happening, that you're not relying on Clavon to do his job, me to do my job, you to do your job, and you're only accountable to your job, but you're worrying about everybody else's job. But if you see, a lot of times the best teams aren't necessarily the ones that have the best players, but they're the ones that are the most accountable to their position, understanding their position, doing it, and then everybody else on that team is accountable also. And then the person that's holding them accountable is the entire coaching staff. And that's why you end up seeing some of these amazing coaching staffs that just build dynasties out of any player. And then everybody wonders, well, what happened? And anytime you see a team that question of what happened, that coaching staff is torn apart. Meaning now the running back coach is an offensive coordinator somewhere else. The offensive coordinator is a head coach somewhere else. The defensive coordinator is a head coach somewhere else. The quarterback coach is a offensive coordinator somewhere else, and everything's torn apart. And that's what happened to the team. But when they had all this together and everybody was held accountable so that everybody could count on each other, nobody could beat them, or it was very difficult to beat them. And I think that you see that in business, you see that in anything, but I think accountability is key. But I also think that you emphasized it, and pretty much every single person that we've had on the podcast has emphasized the self-accountability. And other people have even called it self-respect. I need to have enough respect for myself. My word means something. That's what accountability is. I have to have some skin in the game. You were mentioning that. And so I've talked a lot about you have to be willing to let somebody else know what your goals are, or how can they hold you accountable to them.
Right.
And you have to be willing to allow somebody to hold you accountable. Mm-hmm. There's always that person that's like, hey, I want to follow this diet. And then all the buddies and everybody's doing it. But there's kind of that one person who most of them are looking up to. And that person says, oh, well, let's go have pizza today. And then all the other ones are like, well, he's saying, yeah, let's go have pizza. But you're counting on these people to be the accountability partners that are like, no, we're not having pizza. Yeah. We did this, but they're like counting on you to be the one, and you're counting on them to be the one. And then at the end of the day, there is no accountability because everybody's counting on people that aren't being accountable for themselves. But
which is why I say that accountability to me is character.
Yeah, it is character.
My character got to speak. And if I allow myself to give into what you're saying, I'm not holding you accountable, but it's what I want. So, what does it say about me?
Yeah.
Now there's no accountability because I was looking for someone to give me an out. I was looking for someone to say, hey, let's take today off because I'm looking for the opportunity.
Yeah.
So that character and who you are, you better put some skin in the game and actually have something that you're losing if you don't do it. Yeah,
I love that. And the last thing that we talk about that kind of puts this all together is giving back. I have a concept that I've liked for a long time that says get rich, give back. And I realize that that's not truly the whole thing that I mean, because giving back is definitely not all about money. It's what we're doing right now. You're giving your time, experience, all of those. I'm giving my time. Clavon's giving his time to try and help others that are, looking for a track to run on, that are looking for some motivation, looking to, get whatever they get out of the podcast. But what are your thoughts on giving back? Is that anything that you think about, that you focus on? And again, we're not talking about just giving back. I know things that you've already talked about, working with the kids and realizing that you're working a lot more than just trying to get them in shape for a sport. You're trying to get them to just, be a better man, be a better human being by spending some time with you. But what are your thoughts on giving back?
I think that it may be one of the most overlooked characteristics of a successful human being. And some of the most successful men that I've been able to meet, the reason I say that is because they are the ones that they see something in somebody that person doesn't see in themselves.
Mm.
And a lot of them are giving hope, but they're giving hope by having some sort of belief. So if I'm a successful human being and I have an opportunity to open somebody else's eyes when they don't see it themselves, none of giving back is just monetary. If I'm giving something back, that means that I'm giving something that's valuable to me, to you. And so it's of worth. What's worth? Well, worth to me is, and you just got done talking about it in accountability. You did the hard thing and you held my feet to the fire. You giving back was you giving me an opportunity for me to grow. You giving me an opportunity to see what I could have done better. You giving back was not something that was just $1. It was you saying, hey, this is a perfect example of it. We can go and grow something, but this is what it's going to take. If you can do A, B, C, and D, like I tell my children, then EFG happens.
Yeah.
If I want to give back, I'm going to give back lessons that have shaped me into the man that I am. Giving back is what allows these kids to see that I'm worth way more. Yeah, my parents are extremely. I live in a 13,000 square foot house. I have nothing to worry about for the rest of my life, which is what some of these kids have the thought process of in some of the areas that are in my right. County. Some of these kids that I train are some of the wealthiest families in Davis County. They'll never experience struggle living. Man, I lived in two of my auntie's houses. I lived in a trailer in my grandma's backyard. We lived out of our car 5 or 6 different times growing up. I've never experienced what it feels like to never have to struggle. I still, in that moment, would take a shirt off my back and give it to somebody else because that's how my mama taught me I was going to be happy. Was by loving somebody else harder that didn't know what love actually was. Giving back is not just a monetary substance. It's actual substance. And when I'm blessed to have the ability mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, it's the last thing that needs to be given, because those first 4 are going to create a financial success.
Oh, yeah.
When I take care of them mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, the financial side takes care of itself. And that's what giving back looks like for me. And I think it's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from some of the greatest mentors that I've had. And I'm not trying to toot no dadgum horn for Uncommon, but you came into my life in a time where I was beyond broken, and you held my feet to a fire, and it's shaped a whole lot of who I've been able to become. But it was you giving back by giving some hard love as well, not a handout.
One of the things that I can just also just kind of explain that shows me the type of person that you are. A mutual friend that we both know is going through some difficult times, and he reached out to me. I basically gave him some ultimatums. He was living in his truck at the time, and I'm sure you'll know who I'm talking about here. I'm not going to mention any names. And then literally like 2-3 days later, I find out that you said, hey, come here. I have an extra bedroom, and you have wife, kids, everybody at home. You bring this guy into your house that's not in a great situation, but that just kind of shows the type of person that you were. You were working out with the Warriors at the time, had your own gym at the time, and are just like, hey, come work out with me. Let's do whatever we can to try and help this person out, and that speaks volumes of the type of human that you are, and I think that far too often those things kind of get overlooked in life, and I feel like the main thing that I can do here is provide opportunity to try and help people as much as I possibly can. And that's what I've learned. For me personally, it almost becomes kind of selfish. I've bought the things that I thought were cool, cars, and I'm not saying they're not cool. I like cars.
Yeah, they're cool.
I like those things, but I've got so much more joy seeing other people get them, and having people that have worked for me and had a dream of getting a car. I was more excited when they got that car than when I got it, or when somebody wanted to get a house somewhere, or get this or get that, and I saw all the work, and I saw the excitement and the seeing that it might be possible, and then all of a sudden they get it, and then I get probably as much or more joy than they do. But I also see the same thing in them after they have it for 6 months or 12 months. Now all of a sudden it's just a car, or it's just a house, or it's just this. Yeah. But I think one of the things that I think brings that true happiness and that peace is giving back, doing what we can do, learning as much as we can, and then helping others. And that's one of the things that we emphasize so much, because there's a bunch of people that have a bunch of money and they're just miserable. Yeah. They're on their 5th or 6th marriage, all of these things, everything is falling apart. Yeah, they have built a big business and made some money, but that's not everything. We're talking about your health and fitness. We're talking about the finances. We're talking about always improving and working on things, helping yourself become accountable, helping others become accountable, and then at the end of the day, giving back and helping others. And that's really what this Uncommon movement is all about. Clavon, and anything that you want to add before we close out? Anything that you've got from what Matt talked about, or just anything to throw in here?
No, just a whole lot, man. It's just been a treat. Matt's just full of perseverance, and puts God first, and just a great story. It's just another uncommon experience that people are going to be able to pull from as they watch this. It'll be archived and pull nuggets and principles. Just love everything about, accountability being character, giving back being way bigger than just monetary, and, consistency being the key to, health and fitness. And it was a real treat, man. I'm just, Matty, I'm just glad we had you tonight. Real grateful.
And one of the things, obviously, we don't have unlimited time on these to go over everything. But one of the things, just kind of in closing, Matt, I know that there's been a lot of cycles that you've gone through in your life, where things seem like they were going perfect, and then the next thing you know, you're right back to the beginning, and then it starts going good again, and then all of a sudden it's like, man, what do I need to continue to learn for things to continue to fall apart? And then you build it up again, and then it kind of, things fall apart. What do you think that process is? Obviously there's the struggles, and everybody, we wouldn't be human if we didn't get that anxiety, the depression, and all the stuff that comes with it. But what have you learned from the ups and downs, if anything, that you could kind of let people know that we all go through? A lot of times people just think everybody's successful all the time. And a lot of it's because we talk about our successes sometimes more than our failures. But man, I've been on such a roller coaster over the last, 32 years that I've been in business for myself. Some of the greatest things have happened, and some things that I literally didn't think I could possibly recover from have happened, and then something else good, and then something else bad. And it's always those ups and downs. But what type of advice do you give people when you're going through one of those down movements, like when everything seems dark? Do you have any advice or anything that you can think of?
Yeah, I'm gonna run a different direction to answer that question. I love lighthouses. I love them. I've got one in my house. I've gifted them many times to a lot of other people. My mom has a massive one that's, you walk in her front door, walk up her stairs, you're going to see the lighthouse that I sent her when I was out on my mission. There's some concepts that follow what that lighthouse gives us the ability to see. And I've been in love with lighthouses since I was 12. And it's because there's this beam that is supposed to be guiding us as men to shore. And I'm looking for this lighthouse to show me the light in the middle of this torrential downpour. I'll find the light. I just got to see the light. But what a lot of people don't realize is, what about the lights along the shore? There's these lights that are along the shore that have to line up with that spotlight from the lighthouse that guides you in safely to the bay so you avoid the reef under the water. If I don't have men in my pocket that are the men along the shore, that are that light, that are guiding me back to that big spotlight at the top of that lighthouse to show me what that direction is I'm supposed to be running, how can I make it? I can't do it by myself. How in the world can I do it by myself? I need the lighthouse and the lights along the shore. Some poor fainting, struggling seaman you may rescue, you may save, if they follow the lights along the shore. That's us as men being a little bit more uncommon, to line up with that light to guide them. Those lights along the shore. What if my light's dim? They see the spotlight, but they don't know where that reef is on the bottom.
Yeah.
My light's got to shine bright. I've got to keep my head up, no matter how hard I fall or how far I fall. And I think that's what it all boils down to. We've got to find some men along that shore, or become the men along that shore. And while we try to become those men along the shore, we bring these other men that help us become better men. Because the light's going to continue to shine, but how do we bring us as brothers back to where we're supposed to be the leaders and men that we are to the people in our lives?
Wow, powerful.
Yeah, what's that saying, Clavon? I think it's something like, show me the 5 people that you hang around, and I'll show you the 6th.
Yeah.
So basically, what that's basically saying is, show me the 5 people you hang around the most, I'll show you the 6th. It's you, and that's typically the type of person that you become is who you're around all the time. And so, I love that, and I believe that 100%. Nobody does anything solely on their own. We all have people that we count on to help us stay accountable, to help us when we're down, to help us when we're up. And it's that same thing. Sometimes I'm counting on this person to help pull me out of the hole, and 6 months later or 6 days later, they can be counting on me to pull them out of the hole. But you have to have that brotherhood, and that really sums it up perfect. I think that's a great thing to end on, Clavon, because that's really what Uncommon's all about. It's about that brotherhood, so that every single male in the world knows, if I can just find some of these guys in this Uncommon movement, I've got a team. I've got somebody that's got my back, because we have one goal only. We want to provide every single male 16 and up an opportunity that they know there's a group of men in this world that have one goal in mind, and that's for their own success, to help that person reach their point B, whatever that is. It's different for everybody. But
let's talk about this real quick. I'm going to throw this on to you, Dan. For everyone that is an uncommon man, that wants to become a better human, that wants to change the direction that they're running, I'm willing to put a program together that will create a health and fitness outline at no additional cost outside of anything, as a part of what that uncommon package looks like. I will just write a program and give that to you, Dan, for you to put up for these men that are interested in becoming better and want to change who they are as fathers, as sons, as dads, uncles, as whatever it is that they stand in their situation. And whether they are doing something that's just at home or at a track, or they're going to a gym, I'll throw something together and I'll shoot that over for you to be able to send out to your people.
Awesome. I appreciate that, Matt. And again, what an awesome way to give back. We'll post all that just for anybody that's looking for it. I'll say within the next couple of weeks, we'll post that on uncommonmen.com, uncommonmen.com. And then we're putting together new social medias. All of our social media will be Uncommon 1111. And it's uncommon11.11 because the colon you can't use for Instagram and stuff like that, but we'll have that for Facebook, for TikTok, for Instagram, and YouTube. So you'll be able to, we'll post the information there also in the different groups. But I appreciate that, Matt, and let's go out and change some lives. Thank you so much for your time and for being the person that you are. And Clavon, go ahead and sign us off.
It was awesome, man. We came, we saw, we conquered. Uncommon Men. Hey, guys. And again, don't forget, if you want to check out some of the archived videos, podcast episodes, go to Uncommon Men Global on YouTube and like, share, and subscribe. All right, guys. We'll see you next Monday. All right, everybody be blessed. We are out of here.